Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. My name is Tom Springer. If you haven't met me before, if you have, hi everyone. Welcome. If you're looking at me, that means like it says down there, it's Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 Hawaiian time. You're 11 hours ahead of me in Indonesia, 17 hours ahead of me in Australia. Some of you should be sleeping. You're not. Go to bed. You can watch this as it records. Anyways, welcome to the show. Tonight, I have on another outstanding, wonderful guest. I'm going to just throw her to the wolves. Bring her on now. Her name is Kristi Pederson. If you all have been reading about my clips beforehand on my advertisements, you know I've posted 2 about her and given all that extra information. And without further ado, here is Kristi. Hi, Kristi.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the show. We already have people jumping in and saying hi.
Hi.
So it says Red Ribbon Spirit Work, but in reality, this is one of our very, very close friends who's actually been on our show. Hey, look, there she is. Jamie Whitaker. Sometimes that's her Red Ribbon Spirit Work is actually her show title or her page.
Oh, okay.
And you can switch between, you can switch between your own personal one and your pages. For some reason, she's starting to figure that part out. So that's great. And Patricia, yes, Patricia, you are on time. Welcome to the show on time. I don't make fun of her, but I always know she's late because she always pops in and tells me I'm late. Yes, I'm aware. So
not today. She's on time.
And then my wonderful wife is saying hello. So, like I said,
Nicole.
And so welcome to the show. Like I said, thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. I am going to tell people how you and I met initially, because I like to do that when I have guests on. So Kristi is another one that I met here at the Omaha Mystic Fest. She was actually here. If you people remember a couple weeks ago, I had Astara on as well. And Astara and Kristi are the 2 problem children troublemakers that travel together and do all this wonderful work and help enlighten all of us about what we probably need to do better and all that wonderful stuff. And I needed all kinds of help. So I walked up to them and said, look, broken, fix it. And they went, nope, sorry, but we can come on your show and help the others. And I went, oh, great, let's do that then. So she was nice enough, kind enough to say hello. And say yes. So here she is. Again, we have people like this. Expect this all night. Jamie saying we're multiple personalities. I mean accounts. So that's what happens.
Same thing.
Right? So Kristi, let's get the first question out of the way that I ask absolutely everybody. And you know it's coming because I've already warned you. How did you get started? When did you get started? And I know that we're probably going to talk a couple of different subjects here. So when did you kind of realize about the whole paranormal side of yourself? Oh, I have abilities. I can do this and I can freak people out. Hopefully you were only like 11 and freaked out all the other kids. And when did you start having your extraterrestrial experiences? Oh, I bet you people didn't know we were talking about that tonight, did you? Surprise. But when did you start having your extraterrestrial experiences?
I started having extraterrestrial experiences at the age of 5.
Oh, okay.
And I'll go back into that. As far as the paranormal, the psychic medium stuff, I've been psychic medium pretty much my whole life. I don't ever remember not being a psychic medium. But when unexpected things come flying out of your mouth, people, their eyeballs will roll. They'll physically step back from you because they don't know what to do. So that was always my sign to shut up. So I shut down, shut up. I never shut off the abilities.
Right.
Then around the age of 21, my sister was telling me about this book on reincarnation called The Search for Bridie Murphy.
Hmm.
And she's telling me about how it just changed her concept of reincarnation. I'm like, ay, 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 how gullible is she? And so the next day I went to the library and got the book and I'm reading. It's like, oh my God, this is fabulous. And
Amazing.
so at age 20, I'm sorry, what?
I said, this is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So I went back to the library and in Sioux Falls, South Dakota in the early 70s by then when I was 21. There really weren't that many books on the paranormal or metaphysical, but I just grabbed everything I could get my hands on. And that's where the real metaphysical journey came. And it started to make sense of the things I was seeing and the things I was feeling. But I still kept very, very quiet until I was 58 years old.
Oh.
And at that point, I was studying to be a Reiki Master.
Okay.
And I went in and I went to a practice session because after you graduate, the teacher has once a month, you can go in and practice on other people before you really get serious about, charging people for it.
Right.
And so I went for practice and I was the only student that showed up. And she said, well, you're going to have to do Reiki on me. And I just started laughing because they said, well, doing Reiki on you is like doing Reiki on puppies and rainbows because her energy was so good. And so the minute I put my hands on her, I thought something is very wrong here. And I kept getting sicker and sicker as I was using the hand things to go around her. And finally I said, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to throw up or faint. I've got to stop.
Right.
And she said, well, do you want to know what's going on? Yeah, that would be nice. Thank you. Well, her mother had recently passed.
Oh,
and I was so focused on doing the correct hand positions with Reiki that I wasn't paying any attention. And at that moment, it's like, oh, okay, that's her mother that's making me sick. And so the teacher said, we can stop if you don't feel well. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I feel fine. Because once that connection was made, I was fine. And at that moment, I remember putting kind of a stake in the ground saying, her need for closure with her mother is more important than my fear of being discovered.
Right.
And so I gave her a spontaneous reading. And probably 3 days later, my phone started ringing. And I thought, well, she was a safe person, but little did I know she had a big mouth and she was telling people. And so 3 days later, my phone started ringing. I hear you're a psychic medium. Gulp. Yeah, I am.
Right.
And I knew I was, but the fact of going public was just terrifying to me.
Right.
But it took me from that moment, it took me a year for it to be my full-time job.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But now it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just been amazing. And it's not just the medium work of reading deceased relatives, it's helping people stand in their own power. So between the extraterrestrial experiences and the psychic experiences of all being judged, shamed, that everything I do now has a subtext of courage. And
Right.
people need to embrace who they are, no matter what that looks like. So everything I talk about, everything I do, like I said, the subtext is courage. Be you, be yourself.
Yeah. And that's something that I'll share with you because we didn't really have much time to talk at Mystic Fest, but I'm very new too. I've only been doing this for about a year and a half. About a year and a half ago, I discovered I actually had abilities. But I work for the government. So sharing what I do with the government is a little odd. My office knows what I do, but there's not too many outside of my office that know what I do. Mm-hmm. As far as work goes, I mean, everyone in here, of course, knows. They've heard my stories a billion times, and they're like, "Shut up, Tom. We already know." But as far as work goes, it was very interesting to try to explain not only what I can do, but how it came about, and to take that extra step. I mean, even today, someone was asking me about a bracelet I normally wear. I wear a copper bracelet that's a Celtic Tree of Life type bracelet. And I'm teaching a class right now, and someone goes, "I love your bracelet. Why do you wear it?" And I went, "What do I tell you?" So I just told her, I just said, "Screw it. I'm a psychic medium, and I use this to strengthen, some of my abilities because copper is a very good conductor, and this is what I use it for." And she kind of looked at me and went, "Well, okay." And that was about the end of that conversation. But
But it is becoming more mainstream now, thank goodness.
It is. It is. A lot of the people that you see over there on the audience side, we talk about that. We actually talk about how it's becoming much more mainstream, and it seems like we're having a huge spiritual awakening worldwide, and it's becoming much more accepting. So I think it's great for people like you and I that you've known about it forever. I've known about it new, but to actually start sharing it out with everybody and stuff like that, to say, yeah, I mean, I have to say this because I don't believe it, but you said something about 58, and I'm so sick of you damn women coming on that don't look anywhere close to your age, and yeah, y'all look like you're in your 30s and 40s and stuff like that, and I'm only 50 and I look like I'm 82, but I don't know how that works. But God damn it, but y'all come on.
I just turned 67.
See, there'd be no way I would ever believe that. So, but I'm so happy that people that are watching, especially the people that are coming in that are new, get to experience all the experience that you all get to share. And and that's such a good thing for them to realize it's not new. It's something that's been around forever. And there's people out there like you and like Astara and Ann and everyone else that they can talk to and go to for advice and help and assistance and everything else. And my audience over there is tons of people that do the same thing. And I'm so grateful that we're out there and that you're out there sharing your stories and everything like this. It's great. So
there are so many people that are waking up right now and having paranormal experiences. And one of my favorite things is when someone books an appointment with me and they sit down and they say, "You're going to think I'm crazy." I'm like, bring it on.
Right.
Talk to me. Because I'm a whole package of crazy.
Right. And I mean, throw something at me I don't already know. Come on.
Exactly. But that being said, I'm going to just take a minute because I asked you if I could do this earlier. I've written 3 different books.
Yeah.
And the most recent book is the one I really want to talk about right now. And that's Between Earth and Heaven, A Beginner's Guide to Living a Spiritual Life. Because so many people are having paranormal experiences, they don't know where to start. And they'll go to an expo and they'll see 100 different vendors and go, I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what is important for me. And so what this book is the first third of the book talks about what it's like to be a psychic medium. What's my experience of talking to dead people, between earth and heaven and spirit guides and twin flames. It talks about all of that. Then the second third is the 24 most popular modalities. And it's just like a little bite-sized piece. So people can look at it and go, oh, that resonates with me. Now I know where to go deeper. Or, you know what, that doesn't resonate with me. And then the last part of the book is recommended reading. And it really encapsulates everybody who's just now starting to have some experiences and they don't know how to go after it. Where do I start? That's where you start.
Right. And that's why you're also perfect for the show, because the whole premise behind my show, which is why it's called Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook, it's designed for people who are just starting out, have questions about, or just want to learn more about their abilities or what paranormal is or anything else. It's a starting point for them, and they can come here to this community that we have online and just talk and just ask questions and everything else. And it's great because I realized that everybody, even people that are in here that have been doing this for years, when I bring on guests like you, they all learn something new. Yeah. Even though they've been doing it forever. And so it's great that it's good for new people and for veterans. Well, I'm going to call us veterans. I'm going to call you veterans. I'm still a novice. But it's a place to come and everyone can still learn. So it's fantastic.
There's another psychic medium in town, and she and I do trades twice a month. Because we need to do an exchange of energy work. We read for each other because I can read for other people, but sometimes my own stuff I'm completely blind to. So we do, as an organization, as a community, we need each other. Absolutely.
Right. Can I ask you who the other person is that you work with?
Her name is Angie Montgomery.
Angie Montgomery.
Yeah, you need to have her as a guest.
I was wondering if I already had her on my list, but I actually don't have her. So I do want to stop for a second because I told you I would do this. There's Mrs. Zhang. Hi, Zhang. So this is the one I told you about that comes and visit us from Indonesia. So I just want to make sure I say hello to Zhang. Hi, Zhang.
Thank you so much, Zhang, for being here tonight.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love Ajang to death because she always comes in and she always asks the most interesting questions, and she's always very curious, and she's always such a good supporter. So I love pointing out that, I mean, everybody over there is a great supporter, but she should be sleeping right now, so she's supporting us in her sleep. So,
Ask questions, please do.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I will ask her a ton of questions myself if you guys don't, but because I have a lot of interesting questions to ask her. Because remember, not only are we talking psychic medium stuff tonight, but we're also talking extraterrestrial stuff tonight. So those of you who are just walking in, we have more stuff to talk about than just psychic medium. There you go. We are not alone. There's another book.
That's my second book. Yeah,
Yep.
we are not alone. My extraterrestrial contact.
Yeah, and
Can I? Oh, go ahead.
it's all you. I'm just talking to talk.
I'm very excited because, like I said, I've had ET contact since I was 5 years old.
Right.
And just to get why I wrote this book is at age 30, I decided to have my tubes tied because I knew I didn't want to have children. But 2 weeks after that, I was lying on my bed on a Sunday afternoon, just reading a book, and 3 beings popped into my room. And they were upset with me because I had had my tubes tied. And they paralyzed me. They flipped me over and then lifted me up from behind and did an exam on me. And realized that I still had eggs, but they just weren't going down the fallopian tube. And so they were okay with that. And then they left. And I was left going, oh my God, what just happened to me? Because it was perfectly conscious. It wasn't at night. It wasn't a memory, a download. And from that moment on, I started remembering or having downloads of information of contacts since the age of 5, when I had a near-death experience at age 5. And the ETs came into my room and told me I would always be safe and always be protected. Yeah. So finally, in 2019, I wrote the book, We Are Not Alone. And about 2 weeks after I published it, I was contacted by a filmmaker. And he actually had to drop out of the project when COVID hit. So guess who took over the project? Astara and Orion.
Astara and Orion, yes. Yes.
And so the filming is complete right now, and it's in the final stages of editing. So this fall, we're going to have the premiere of the movie, and the trailer is out already too. So maybe we can add that to your.
Yes. Yes. So Astara kind of shared some of that. She's like, you have Kristi coming on. Guess what me and Orion did. So she kind of prepped us for that. She said, I don't want to give it all away. I'm gonna let Kristi talk about it, but just know that we've been working on this project with Kristi, and make sure she talks about it. So
since 2019, we've been working on it.
Right. So initially, Jamie asked, "Is that aliens or starseeds?" And then she says, "Okay, that's not starseeds." So she's like,
right.
Okay.
Starseeds is something that's very different. And I'm actually right now in the process of developing a class on starseeds because, again, so many people are waking up to the fact that they are a starseed. They just don't know what to call it.
Right.
So extraterrestrials right now are here, for me anyway, on a mission. And I did shut down contact with one group because it was physically invasive to me. I have several hybrid children from them that I've gotten to meet. There's another group that I call the technical group. And they are the ones that are working with me to be kind of a first responder. And at night, when my body is sleeping, the rest of my soul leaves my body. And I actually am helping with other planets.
Okay.
And in particular, underwater life, planets that are in danger of destroying themselves. So I'm doing that. They've taught me how to fly crafts. You said we could go there, Tom. I'm going there.
you can go there. You can go there. I told you, this is. It's funny because every once in a while we get real technical on here, and I do that same thing. And some people give me the little deer in headlights look, but they just love the conversations. And as long as we explain what we're talking about, they seem to be perfectly happy with it on the other side. So,
yay. Awesome. So, yeah. So that contact is still going on with me with extraterrestrials. Starseeds, however, are a little bit different because we are all old souls. All
Mhm.
of us are. So when people talk about, oh, she's just a young soul, it usually means he or she has only had a few lifetimes on Earth. So they are new souls to the Earth. And that's why they act something like they don't know what they're doing, and they, overly dramatic and those kind of things, where what we call old souls are those that have had many, many, many Earth lifetimes.
Right.
So when we talk about star seeds, they actually have had probably more lifetimes off planet than they have had on Earth, but they're here with a little different mission than what we would call a new soul. And starseeds typically are here for two reasons. And the first one is to help raise the vibration of the planet,
Mhm.
because with the population growth that we've got going on right now, a lot of them are coming in as new souls or newer to Earth incarnations. And so they tend to be a little bit more fundamental, a little bit more conservative. And so it's throwing off the balance of our planet. So star seeds are being born knowing they're star seeds, but most of them right now are awakening in usually middle or later ages to the fact that they're here on a mission. And that just simply is to exist to raise the vibration of our planet. The second reason that they're here is to have a human experience. And
Mhm.
that's to learn the lessons, to experience things, to accomplish things just like any other human. The
Right.
thing is those two missions can be at odds with each other. And what I find with star seeds is that I know I need to be out among the people. I know I need to be of service, but I just really want to stay home.
Right.
And but home isn't the home where I live. I want to go home to a place that they don't even know where it is. And that's the star system or the planet that they're from.
Right.
So that's the definition of star seed. Can you see how that's a little bit different than extraterrestrials? And I feel like
Yes.
we're all seeded from someplace else. We're all extraterrestrials.
Right.
It's just, how does that look in this day and age?
Right. And Jamie even responds with, my soul originated Lyrian, but I have 4 placements. So she's had the background done for her.
Good. Jimmy, I'm
No.
so glad you said that, because people have a hard time understanding that. And what I say is, I was born in South Dakota, but I have
Mhm.
lived in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix,
Right.
and San Diego. And so you've got an origin planet or star system, but
Right.
usually you come back. When I say you've had lives off planet, that can be Lyran, it can be Andromeda, it can be Arcturian, it can be
Right.
Sirian. And
And
it's just
that's
like moving around.
and that's me, because the only one I know that I have had is Arcturian, but I don't know if that's my original. But talking to Jamie, we also think that we have crossed paths, Pleiadian as well somewhere. So she's thinking I probably have 3 or 4, but
Yeah.
I just don't know myself, because I just don't know how to get that information outside of contacting people to ask that question. And she has someone that can do that reading for us, the back reading for us, to let us know. But I just haven't done that yet to figure that out. So
Yeah,
I
it's really interesting.
I know a lot about my Earth body and my past lives in my Earth bodies, but I don't know a lot about my starseed self. So that's what I'm working on figuring out next. So
Well, and I think with you, with the double mission that I talked about, is for your way to raise the vibration of the planet is as a human to have this radio show to introduce people like us,
yes,
can have direct contact, and it's that collaboration.
yes,
That's what I see for you.
and that's what I explain about this show, is that I really think that this show, that I was asked to do this show, I've been brought on to do this show to introduce all these different people doing all these different things to all these other people who want to know. And I really think that's one of the premises behind me actually doing the show. I did not know where the show was going to go. I've only been doing the show since last December, beginning of January this year. So I'm still very new at running a live stream, but I love doing it. And I think that one of the reasons why is because I know I get to share all your experiences with all these other people who are just awakening or haven't quite awakened yet, but maybe they get triggered by something that we're talking about on here to awaken or anything else.
Yeah.
So, oops.
That's a good point. And when people start the spiritual path, 9 times out of 10, it starts out with something traumatic. There's trauma in their life, and
Mhm.
they realize that the way they've lived their life no longer serves them. It no longer works for them. So they start seeking and reaching out to something else that might resonate with them, might make them feel better.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it was trauma for me, for sure.
So I want to ask, because I know you do the psychic medium stuff. Have you um, have you ever done the initial? I know that there's a lot of psychic mediums, or at least a lot of psychic. Well, pretty much both, that have done like the paranormal investigations and stuff like that. Have you ever been involved in anything like that?
I have not formally been involved in paranormal investigations, but I've done that pretty much on my own. Like there was a local bar in town that was haunted. And so they asked me to come in and check it out and give the history, the story behind it, and clear the energy. There was a pizza place in town I did the same thing for. So yeah, I'll do that, but it hasn't been, part of a formal investigation group.
Okay, but yeah, I mean that's kind of where Nikki and I are right now. We were part of an investigation team. We kind of broke off to do our own thing, and we haven't started on it yet. But we're just going to do little one day trips just to go check out local places. When we were the formal team, we're actually doing overnight investigations. But now we kind of want to test the waters and see how we do on our own, type of thing. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, let me know if you want company.
Okay. Oh, look. It's like
Hi, Annie.
It's like Beetlejuice. We said her name 3 times and she popped up.
Were your ears burning, Annie?
Hi, Annie.
That's so funny.
It's like I've seen her before somewhere. But yeah, so wow. I mean, there's just so much that you're involved in.
Very
I know,
busy.
right? I don't know how you made time for my show, but thank you. I must have caught you on a good day. I remember I caught you when the crowds were small. That's what it was.
Yes.
So Annie's saying that she's just joined, but she's going to re-listen to see what she missed.
Oh, you missed such good stuff, Annie. Oh, my God.
Where were you, Annie? How are you possibly late for Kristi's show? Come on. I know we'll catch that one later.
But, with this spiritual path, this is something I really want to talk about when I talk about courage. To be yourself and going on the spiritual path, because as a society, we have been programmed, and that is to think out here. And
Right.
Most of us know by now is that it's not the house, it's not the car, but so they turn to metaphysical things, thinking that, tarot cards, Ouija boards, crystals, incense, the answer. And they're not. They're wonderful tools.
Right.
But everything is inside yourself. That's where you start. You have to do the inside work. And when people come to me, I will give them the tools to help, but they still have to use those tools. It's like,
Right.
I want to build a house. Okay, here's the lumber, here's the nails, here's this. And then you sit down and want it magically to happen and build. You have to grab a hammer, you have to grab nails. And that's what I'm talking about, is the courage to figure out, who am I? What do I want? And what does that look like and feel like to me?
Right.
Those are the 3 big questions that we need to ask ourselves. And you're not going to find that, by looking outside of yourself or any other, shiny object. And believe me, I have 45 decks of tarot cards. I have incense, I have crystals, I have all of that, because they are tools to enhance and help, but you still have to do the inner work. And that's what I find with so many people. And I tell it when someone comes to see me for the first time, I'll say, when someone goes to a therapist, they know it's a commitment for the long haul. But they come to a psychic medium and they want, boom, they want that magic wand and everything to be perfect in an hour. And that's not the way it works at all. This is a lifetime commitment to yourself, to be the best version of you that you can be. And that means looking at those shadow sides of yourself, the dark stuff, the way we've been programmed from parents and teachers. Does that continue to serve you or not? Right. And if not, let it go without judgment of you or anybody else. Let it go, and then start reprogramming yourself to, what do I really want? What gives me passion? What drives me? What fills my heart with joy? that's where you want to go. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that.
That statement just saddened me because it was a really good statement, but I'm really lazy. So
No!
self-proclaimed. Yes, I
You can do this sitting in a chair. Does that help?
If I can do it laying down with my eyes closed, it'd be really good. So
You can do it that way. But
So-
I'm working on my 4th book right now. And I'm about 3/4 of the way finished with it. And I'm channeling this entity called Ramadir. And he tells me that he is from the Ramadir Collective. And they kind of live or meet on the belt of Saturn. And what he's doing is taking these really esoteric things and bringing them down into a language that modern people can understand, rather than the thee, the thou, those kinds of things.
right.
And so one story that he's letting me tell from the book is so fascinating, because he said life is very much like the child birthday party game, Pin the Tail on the Donkey.
Okay.
So what would happen if you walked into a birthday party and someone handed you a tail and said, go pin it on the donkey? You'd be like, yeah, okay, what fun was that?
Right.
So the way the game works is you're blindfolded, you are spun around.
Yep.
Then how do you pin the tail on the donkey? You listen to the other party goers.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, oh, you're hot, you're warm. Oh, now you're cold. And that's what life is. We all know exactly who we are in spirit, but we come into this human form like we've been blindfolded and spun around. So how do we learn those lessons? How do we accomplish what we want to accomplish? We listen to our spirit guides. We listen to our deceased loved ones that tell us, you're warm, you're hot, you got this. Whoop, now you're cold.
Right.
And so we have to have that connection to those on the other side. That's their job. That's why they're connecting to us, to help us achieve what we came here to achieve. Isn't that a simple way to explain life?
It is. It is. A lot of people make that way too complicated. So
yeah.
I want to say thank you, Debbie. She has to get going, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show when you watch it back. And yes, I know you meant watch, not eat. I understood that. And Jamie says, yes, she loves that explanation so much. So yes, that did make a lot of sense. So it does resonate with, even resonated with me. And I'm probably the lowest common denominator in the room. So you're right on page. So I do want to bring back up what Nikki posted. She says, so I feel like when my eyes really opened to aliens, or when I actually admitted out loud, my thoughts was when I was teaching 6th grade reading, and we read a book that I think was called Are We Alone, or something like that. But I actually was trying to be unbiased, but also telling kids that, do they really think we live alone in this huge universe we live in? And that's a point that a lot of people make. To me, there's no possible way that we have all this infinite space and we are the only people that live in all this infinite space. That is unbelievably arrogant of a human to think of. There's this one tiny little planet called Earth, but we're the only ones that have a human life, that have a life form on it that lives in all this wonderful space.
There are 70,000 million stars in the sky, which is about 10 stars for every grain of sand in every ocean. So you cannot tell me that in that vastness that we're the only ones.
Right. Exactly.
We're just simply not.
Yep. I completely agree with that. Your first interaction was when you were 5.
Yes.
From then, what has it developed into? Is it something along the lines of you're anticipating the next visit? You know when the next visit is going to be coming? It's just a random visit, or is there any rhyme or reason since then how they've come about to you?
There's really no rhyme or reason. So I'm going to talk about the breeding group first, and then I'll talk about the technological group, because the Greys were the breeding group. They're the ones that I had the most contact with until I was probably in my mid-40s. And what they would do is they would just show up in my bedroom. And it was terrifying. I mean, how would any of you react if someone, looking alien just showed up in your bedroom right as you were going to sleep? It was terrifying. And
Right.
I remember one night I was so angry that I shook my fist in the air and I said, "Were you people born in a barn? Don't you know how to knock?" And then it was just a few weeks later, inside my head, I heard they knocked in my head. It's like, oh God, that wasn't what I meant. Knock at the
Right.
door so I could say no. But then the minute I heard the knocking in my head, boom, I was gone on a craft. And once I was on the craft, I wasn't afraid at all. It was just them showing up unannounced anytime. And then I would wake up knowing in the morning, I'd wake up going, something happened, but I didn't know. And then all of a sudden downloads would happen. And what a download is just think about somebody handing you a book. And so you've got all the information, but you have to read it in order to really understand it and put it together. And so these downloads would be like them putting an entire book in my head.
Right.
And those downloads would happen in the middle of a business meeting while I'm taking a walk. I mean, it didn't matter. And it was just startling. And the downloads were typically that on a very regular basis, I was being taken aboard a craft. And I distinctly remember the craft was circular. And so there were beds in a circular fashion that kind of mimicked the inside of the ship, the craft. And our clothes were off and draped in sheets. And there were a team of what appeared to be doctors. And so it'd be one after another of us. And we would be subjected to exams. And my eggs were taken. And I'd wake up in the morning with my head at the foot of the bed. There would be blood on the pillowcase, blood in my nose. And like I said, the first real conscious memory I had was when I was 30, because when I was 5, that showed up under hypnosis.
Okay.
So when I was 30 was the first real memory, but I just remember growing up being a very odd child.
Mhm.
And probably one of the things that upset my parents the most in the early 70s, hijackings were happening. So at the airport, they had the first metal detectors.
Right.
And my father was going on a business trip, which was rare. So the whole family had to trek out to the airport to say, goodbye to Dad for this business trip. And they had the first metal detector there, and I couldn't go through it. I was petrified with no idea why. And I mean, I cried, I screamed, and I think I was 17 at the time. So I wasn't like I was a little tiny child.
Right. Right.
And my parents were just like, I'll hold your hand. They were just so angry with me. And I refused. And I said, I'll wait in the ticketing area. And so I said goodbye to my dad. And they were so angry. Well, it showed up in hypnosis decades later that when the aliens abducted me and took me aboard crafts, I would go through a series of doorways that were very reminiscent of metal detectors. And I knew that this was what I called a doorway to hell, rather than a doorway to nowhere, which is really what it was at the airport. So there were things like that, and bloody noses that were constant. And when I say bloody noses, my mother had to put bath towels around me to catch all the blood. It wasn't like, a little bit of blood. Yeah. There fainting spells, dizzy spells, motion sickness that none of my other siblings had. And none of those things were really outstanding until you put them all together in one little girl.
Right.
And then it became very odd. And, when I was 12, I started babysitting. And so I would leave at 2:00 in the morning. I would leave the babysitter's house, and nowadays people don't do this, but they would just watch from the doorway while I walked home. And I had to climb over a fence through gardens, and I would lay down in the grass and just cry and go, I want to go home. I want to go home. This is too hard.
Right.
And it was to a home that I didn't know existed.
Right.
And that's been a theme of my whole life, is wanting to go home because this is so difficult.
Right.
And it's part of what I agreed to. And with these aliens constantly abducting me, this all is very intertwined together. And one time they came to me, and this is a conscious memory, this is not a download. They came to me right as I was going to sleep one night, and they said, we need you to come aboard a craft because your daughter needs you. And I said, my daughter, and I'd had my tubes tied. I knew I wasn't going to have children. Mm-hmm. But yet, for one level, it didn't seem all that strange to me.
Right.
So they brought me on the craft and put me in this very sterile room. And they brought in this little girl who was probably, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall, maybe.
Mhm.
And just this pale pallor on her skin. And she had very thin snow white hair, which I had as a child too, snow white hair, and just a few strands of it. And they said that she was experiencing failure to thrive, and she had too much human in her. And I needed to save her.
Hmm.
And they put her in my arms. And every maternal instinct that I didn't know I had surfaced.
Right.
And I held her and, rocked her and cuddled her and told her I loved her. And physically, I started to see color come back into her face.
Hmm.
And she had this beautiful peaches and cream complexion. And what felt like, maybe 4 hours later, but I have no concept of time, so I can't say for sure, the Grays came back in to get her.
Mhm.
And I struggle with this. Sorry. This is very emotional for me.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
That I said, how can I give her back to these beings that have no emotions? And she jumped off my lap and ran over to them. And I thought, just because they don't have emotion to her doesn't mean she doesn't have emotion to them.
Right.
It's the only a life form that she really knew of.
Right.
And I had to let her go. I didn't know how. This is my daughter. This is my child.
Right.
How could I let her go? But I had to. It's like I did my job. I saved her.
Mhm.
And that has haunted me. And this is the first time I've ever told that story without crying, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And evidently, I'd made a deal with them that if I saved my daughter, that they would show me my other children, because I knew I had more than her.
Right.
So they walked me down a hallway and took me to these double doors. It was about the room about the size of a gymnasium. And they opened these doors, and there were about 35 children in there, looking very different from my daughter. They had jet black hair, but still very fine. And they were so spindly looking, and they had the big black alien eyes.
Right.
And I looked at them like the aliens that they were.
Right.
And looked at me like some benign intruder. And I just shut the door, and I had no connection with them whatsoever.
Right.
And then I woke up going, what the hell just happened? And, I wonder how my daughter is doing.
Right.
To my knowledge, I've not seen her again. I've had like brief glimpses of memory that I have had contact with her, but I don't have any conscious or downloaded memories of that. But I did my job. And so how is she? And I can equate it on a certain level to people that have to give up a child for adoption and all the what ifs. How old are they? What would they be doing now? Do they have love in their life? And, I just wonder who she is, how she is, and what she's doing.
Yeah.
That was the most profound thing. And once I started going through hypnosis, so many things were validated. So many things were made clear. And it's like every time I tried to break off contact with the Grays, they would show me a contract and said, you signed this, you agreed to this.
Right.
This is a multi-lifetime agreement. So I go, oh, well, okay, as long as it's a contract. And finally I said, I can break this contract. I can do that. And I did. I broke the contract, and I've not, to my knowledge, have not had contact with the Grays anymore. But about 10 years before that, another group started contacting me. And they're what I call the technological group. And a memory I have with them is I was on a craft, and this craft is huge. It's the size of a city.
Right.
And the cockpit is bigger than most houses. And I was sitting at these tiered seating with big long desks with swivel chairs behind them. And I was sitting at one towards the back of the cockpit. And my teacher was there with me, and he was standing over to the side next to this huge bank of computers. And he said, okay, come on over, Kristi, we're going to practice. And I'm like, I hate technology. I don't want to do this. Ugh. And he just kind of, because I said I was like a petulant child. No, I don't want to.
I don't want to do it.
You can't make me. Well,
Right.
evidently you can. So I got up and walked over to these computers and started programming and pressing buttons and turning knobs and say, how do I know how to do this? Nobody was more shocked than me.
Right.
I sat there and did all of this programming. And then he said, okay, we can stop now. And he walked over to another wall and started showing me holographic images. And this was a tremendous fire. And there were people screaming and yelling. And he said, these are the people you're going to save. And I said, well, what about my family? And they said, don't worry about that. Other people are in charge of them. These are your people. And I said, I've never been in a fire. I don't know how to save people. And he just said, you'll know what to do when the time is right.
Right.
Yeah. And that seems to be a common theme with people with contactees, is that they are being programmed with so many things and told that we'll know what to do when the time is right.
Right.
And so the technological, they then started teaching me how to fly crafts. Crazy. Get the book.
Yeah. Yes.
Read the book.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I did want to talk about that really quick. I mean, I wanted to kind of go back to your first story of your daughter. And I kind of wanted to share something that Nikki and I have been told, is that we have a child together. We don't have children together, but we have been told that we have a child together that is with us all the time, but we don't know who this child is or where this child came from or anything else. But someone has told us, by the way, you guys have a child together. So it's very interesting to hear that now that you've mentioned that. And I'm wondering if that is the same situation we are in, that we just don't know.
Typically, it's one human being. It's not two together because it's a hybrid situation.
Right. I understand it. But I mean, I think it's mostly tied to Nikki. But the person who told us said, you have a child together, but it's mostly tied to her. They reference it as her child. So I wonder if that's something that it is, and she just doesn't remember it.
Yeah. There are so many people that have had their eggs taken, and men who have had their sperm taken, and with no memory of it at all. And I think because I'm psychic medium that I'm able to recall. And I just feel like I'm on a bigger mission here too, that they're allowing me to remember by giving me downloads. But yeah, it's entirely possible that you have had contact and have a child.
So Mr. William Nighthawk has piped in to say hello.
Hello.
So, and he's asking, have you ever had any dealings with MIB? And I know why he's asking this, because he's going to do a show about MIB, if anyone's had any contact with MIB, whether it has been direct contact or whether you have witnessed them from a distance or anything else. So he's asking you if you've ever had any dealings with people. Wow, words are hard for me right now. Have you ever had to deal with any form of MIB?
I haven't. And for those of you who don't know, it's Men in Black,
Correct.
which, very often come after a sighting or an abduction experience. To my knowledge, no, I haven't. In fact, I even contacted the government under the Freedom of Information Act to see if I had an FBI file associated with that. And it came back that no, I didn't, but I'm like, we'll see. I don't know.
Right, exactly. And that's similar stuff, because he even responds back with his abduction was remote viewed recently and confirmed, and other questions have been answered. So, so Nighthawk has also experienced this. William is a fantastic person, by the way. Just in general, in life, just the soul is just fantastic. And he has experienced so much like you have. So it's really nice to have him on the show too, because he can relate with so many things and he can give his input as well, which is fantastic to have. And Jamie responded with, this is further back for you. She says, I have a strong negative opinion of Greys and reptilians. It's part of my last incarnation training. So,
and reptilians have got a bad rep because there's so many of them that are negative. There are some good reptilians. It sounds like you've had experiences with the negative ones.
Right.
And the same with the grays. There are the little short grays, which are really kind of drones. And that's why they show up with absolutely no emotion. And then there are different types of grays too. And some of them aren't all that awesome. So you probably have had experience with the not so great side
So when you
of grays.
talked about when you visited your child and everything else, you said a doctor came in. Was the doctor that came in a gray?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're all levels of intelligence. They go against the whole gambit, the span, and everything else. So, and Jamie's saying she was the enforcer. I was the enforcer.
What does that mean? You were in the enforcer? I don't understand what that means, Jamie.
I'm sure she'll respond back. She's very
Okay.
good about doing this. But yes, so it's interesting because I have actually been very open to being in contact with aliens. I have made it well known to them. I've spoken it out loud and said, "Hey, I'm okay if you want to come talk to me and you want to have this conversation." And you know, because I know that in my starseed and in this life, I have always been in what I would call an enforcer and a protector. I've always been the one that's been told, "You are the one who is protecting." Like I'm the first of the order of the guard. You know, I'm the one who protects all the higher rankings or whatever else. That's my job, and that's always been my job for as long as I've known. And apparently, that's something that I'm supposed to also do in an alien life. Is I'm supposed to help protect them when they are doing stuff as they did to you and collect eggs and samples and everything else. Apparently, I am also supposed to be an enforcer for them. So I'm like, well, let me know. I'm here. So, and they never responded to me at all, you know. So as far as I know, I've never had any response. But I've always told them, look, I'm not a shy, quiet person, and I'm definitely not afraid of anything. So feel free to come talk to me or have me go do something, whatever else. You're not gonna faze me at all. So,
Well, I run a support group here in Omaha for contactees. It'd be
okay,
fun to have you as a guest.
yeah, it would be interesting. So I'm waiting to see. So she's saying they follow the rules and they are fine. There are intergalactic rules.
Yeah.
So she's the enforcer of those rules.
Oh, okay. Because I sit on the council of the Galactic Federation of Planets.
Huh.
And I've gotten that from two different sources. So, and I think that probably falls within that to keep the peace, keep galactic peace, that there are rules that have to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thank you, Jamie, for that.
Yeah. So we keep going back and forth. Right now we're on the extraterrestrial side, and I kind of want to go back to the paranormal side, but it's just kind of where I am. Like I said, I warned you ahead of times that this wonderful mohawk bearded old man goes squirrel, and we'll jump topics. And I have identified that I decided to blame Jamie for my squirrel moments. I don't know why I picked Jamie. I just feel like that's right. That's correct. And Jamie is the cause of all my squirrel moments. So I'm just going to go ahead.
Let's blame somebody else.
Right? Why not? She'll smile and nod, and then she'll yell at me, and then she'll smile and nod. Yeah, that's probably right. So it'll all be good on the other side of it. But with your psychic medium stuff, have they ever crossed paths? Has your alien side ever crossed paths with your psychic medium side?
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that question because one time I was under hypnosis and the hypnotherapist said, "What does your higher self think about your extraterrestrial contact?" And I went, "Oh my God, it's the same thing." And, you know, most people now acknowledge that we are all one. We come from source.
Mm-hmm.
And so we break off, and you're expressing yourself as Tom. I'm expressing myself as Kristi. My guides are expressing themselves as guides. My ETs are expressing themselves as ETs. My main guide is an ET.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very much interconnected, but we still are all one. And that for some reason, when I thought we were all one, it was all humans. And it's like, no, every life form, we are all one. And whether that's ET, plant, animal, human, it doesn't matter. We're all one. We all come from source.
Yeah. And I try to explain that when I talk to some people, because I am under the big belief that all of our human religions have all broken off from one general sense, one creator. And in
Yes.
order to create all these different sects, they've identified something new with it. But as far as I'm concerned, all of the different beings that we call God are all the same person. We just give him all a different name. But if you go back and look at all the practices, we all have the exact same, almost the exact same lines of practices we follow. We just call it something else, or we call the person something else, or whatever else. But when you go back and look at the fine details of it, they're all the same.
Exactly, until humankind got hold of it and
Right,
started putting different controls and
right. Because I'm a person and I want to be a leader of other people, so I'm going to go ahead and say, well, this religion is really cool, but here's my religion, and here's how it's different.
yes,
But when you look at it, it's like, but it's the same thing. You just decided to give that dude a different name. Yeah, I did, and that's what's different about it. But I'm the leader, so you got to listen to me and how I believe my theory of religion is. Well, no, it's all stems from the one place, wherever that may be. It didn't originate here on Earth, but it's just how it branched off and how everyone is taking it. So,
and
that's
that's where ego, it's where ego gets
yeah.
involved.
Yeah, and that's how I looked at it, and that's how I've always looked at it for some strange reason. I don't know how I ever developed that thought process when I was younger or anything else. It's just how I've always known it to be. I grew up in a Pentecostal Christian church where my grandfather was a preacher. So I've been raised as a Pentecostal my whole life. But my belief has always been there's got to be more than just this. And there's everything we talk about through history. We're all talking about the exact same person. We just identified him as different names. We've identified him as Buddha. We've identified him as Allah. We've identified him as God. We've identified him as Odin. Cool, fantastic, Zeus, whatever else you want to call him. It's all the same being. We just broke down the religions differently.
Right.
Yeah. So, William did ask, do you think that there are good grays and bad grays?
Yes, there are. Absolutely, there are.
Have you come across bad grays?
Yeah, it's kind of subjective because the grays that I had contact with, the smaller ones, that were more the drone like, the doctors, they were a little bit larger gray. You could say they were bad because they violated my body, but they were not warlike. They were not destructive. So I would have to say, no, I have not had contact with bad.
But to them, do they look at it as good and bad? Do they understand good and bad in the same option as what you felt as your body being violated? Do they even have that concept that what I'm doing is bad? Or they just go, what we're doing is this concept is preserving life to move on to the next life.
Yeah.
So they don't understand good and bad. For what we would call good and bad, they don't have that same concept. Is how I would feel it. That's just what they do. It's a different mindset for them. Jamie is saying that one of her guides is an interdimensional ET.
Perfect. Yay.
I have been told who my 3 guides are. The one that basically my forever guide, my other guide, and my immediate guide that's with me right now that will branch off and change throughout time. And I believe one of mine, my oldest, my one that's going to be with me is a starseed that's related to me somehow. That has been identified as one of my guides. I'd have to go back and read my paperwork because it was all written out to me for everything else. I just don't remember who they all are because I'm terrible at stuff like that. And William is asking, what do you know about Dr. Stephen Greer and the fake invasion plan by government?
Stephen Greer is an amazing human being who's taking so many risks, putting things out there. I don't really know about the plan that you're talking about, but I would encourage everybody to watch his stuff, and you can see it on YouTube, on Gaia. Most of the streaming services carry it. But he's had so many threats to his life just for coming out and talking about extraterrestrials and what the government knows and what they're unwilling to share. Yeah, and under the Freedom of Information Act that came out, was it last June, I think it was? That was this much of what the government knows. But I also know that when government leaders come out and say, oh, no, they don't exist, we don't know anything, we're not involved, they're not lying. Because it's such a level so far above the mainstream government, military people, that it goes back to, pretty isolated group. But if you go to Gaia and subscribe to that, and Cosmic Consciousness is a wonderful show. And there are some whistleblowers on that show. And I think Stephen Greer's been a guest on that many times, but he's now doing his own documentaries, and he's fabulous.
Right.
But yeah, sorry, I don't know about the plan. Other than the government is now starting to give us little, eyedroppers full of information.
Well, look, now you have something to research. So all of us are going to read your book. Now you have something else to go research for yourself.
Yes, do read it. And you can get it in audio too.
Oh, Jamie, did you hear that? Audiobooks. Jamie's a big audiobook fan. So is my wife. Jamie just ordered another book from someone who we had on earlier, Robbie Thomas, and he's psychic, kind of like a psychic detective, but he finds people who have passed on and stuff like that. He's worked worldwide, but he has a book, and we were asking if it was on audio, and he said no. So we said, oh man, now we actually got to read. So everyone was saddened by it, but yours is on audio, so bonus.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can get it in Kindle, in paperback, or on audio.
Oh, see, and then I told you about this earlier. Jamie's saying, there's that ghost again, which happens to be my wife laughing in the background. Because for the longest time, I had to tell people, no, I'm not haunted. I don't have a ghost. That's my wife laughing in the background. That's what they're hearing. So
I have to show you one other thing, because Orion is the one who recorded the book. And then I came up with this great idea. Look at these. If you can see that. It's a flash drive.
Oh, very cool.
So it's limited edition. So you can also get that. And so it's the audio book on the flash drive. I have an artist friend who did the little wood burning in there of the little alien face.
Very cool.
Isn't that awesome?
There you go. Yeah, Jamie's excited about it. There you go. What? Woohoo! So, yes. So do me a favor. I want you to just hold them up and show the books again so people know what they are. And you have 3 of them, I believe.
I have 3. The first one I wrote in 2010, and that is An Extraordinary Life. This one is basically, it's not so much spiritual, it's 58 true short stories, because we all have those moments in time that might not mean anything to anybody else. To us, they're just incredibly special. So that's what this first one is. The second one is We Are Not Alone, My Extraterrestrial Contact. That's all about my ET stuff. And that's the film that'll be coming out this fall.
Yep.
And then the last one is Between Earth and Heaven, A Beginner's Guide to Living a Spiritual Life. So I got to tell you a story about, see that white streak right through there? Yeah. My friend Angie and I were on a retreat together a couple of years ago. And on this retreat, there was a labyrinth. And so when you walk a labyrinth, you're supposed to ask for something and you'll have an answer by the time you finish walking the labyrinth.
Right.
Well, the last time I did it, I said, you know what, I'm just going to walk with gratitude this time. I'm not going to ask for anything. And about halfway through, I said, I felt like the face of God smiling on me. And I couldn't wait to finish and go tell Angie. She goes, well, you're not going to believe this. I was guided to pick up my camera and take a picture. This is not Photoshopped. This is the real deal of what I felt. And you probably can't see, but that's me right there walking the labyrinth. And what I felt like the face of God smiling, she captured that. Isn't that amazing?
Cool. Yeah, that is awesome. That's a great story to go with that too.
Yeah.
So as everyone sees right here down below me, KristiPederson.com and herextraordinarylife.net. I'm sure the books were out there for us to go out there and purchase as well, correct?
Right.
If they're going to be on these sites, we can go out there and we can take a look at them. Now, I will also tell you that everyone knows that I will go out to people's sites first so I can kind of read about your information, everything else that you have there. And again,
Are you stalking me?
It's funny you use that word because I always use the word stalking and I feel odd when I say the word stalking. But if people who know my background know that's a very fitting word for me. It's not a bad thing, but just know. But yes, I basically stalk you so I know what your page is about and everything else, so I can tell people, honestly, go out to these sites. Go out to KristiPederson.com and herextraordinarylife.net and take a look at them. She has a great history based out here. Her bio's out there. All of a handful of her like short stories or just like little bits of information is out there. Where you can find the books are out there. How you can contact her to have courses or classes or anything else type of thing. You can go out there and you can contact her about all this. You have a question? Go out there and ask her a question. It's all out there and ready for her to help you with. So don't be shy. Don't be quiet. Don't be like me, shy and quiet. Make sure you go out there and take a look at these and go ask questions, get involved, become part of the system, become part of all the people that are awakening. And I believe that there's a lot of the stuff that you can do, if I'm not mistaken, if I read that correctly, there's a lot of stuff that you can even help with online. Like you don't have to have in person. You can actually do some of the stuff through communication from like this. Like,
yes, I do Zoom sessions.
Yes.
Because I've got clients all over the world. And so we do phone, we do Zoom, and in person.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go out to the sites and you can actually sign up for some of these things. You can see what's available. You can reach out to her and ask questions about it and everything else. So this is fantastic. So I'm glad we're able to advertise that for you and get that out. And I'm really happy that you have the books that we can advertise as well, because I think people should go out there and read them. And because there's always something, I don't care what it is. When you pick up a book, I don't care if it's the most boring book in the world. You're going to pick something up and you're going to read a page and it's going to resonate with you and it's going to stay with you. Yes. I don't care what book it is. There's always going to be something that's there that you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And people that are in this environment, like we all are, and all my guests are over there, you're my guests, my audience beyond you, not you're yonder, they're over yonder. So all the audience is over there. Well, they're going to learn something from your books. And it's just going to be something that may go, you know what, I have a question. And so they're going to go out to your page and they're going to ask the question because they just read the book and go, all right, I need further explanation on this. Or this is really cool. What else is it? What else? And Jamie's right here is identifying the pandemic really made it okay to do a lot more online. It did. Yeah. And that's why I believe a lot more classes are online. A lot more people are communicating online. Now, I am saddened by the fact that the pandemic did push a lot of us online and afraid to go back to human social contact. That's something that I believe that a lot of people missed. And I think a lot of the younger generation are dealing with that in the wrong way. I think they're so tied into their online abilities and capabilities now that they don't know how to react in a social environment with others, because all they know
connect cerebrally. Yeah, they connect through the brain with other people, but they don't connect through the heart anymore.
Right.
And you really need to be in person to do that.
There's no empathetic or emotional attachment to it. It's just all thought process. There's nothing else there that has the compassion side or anything else, which is really sad. And I'm hoping at some point we break out of that. I will let people know that we live in Omaha, Nebraska in Sarpy County, and we just went back up to level high as far as the pandemic goes for COVID. And my base, because everyone knows I work in a military base, just went back to mandating masks. How much sense does that make? So
did they really?
Yes. So we are back in masks on base. So you don't get the physical cues with the mask on that you're used to having when you're talking to somebody as well. And that's a big tell on how you're communicating with somebody, is how their reactions are. There's a lot of things that I recognize probably more than a lot of other people do in facial gestures. Something as simple as a twitch or a swallow or a vein, or the way they look their eyes, or the way they'll move their nose. They're all telltale signs of if I'm getting through or not, or how they're responding to me. They're micro movements. And I'm very good about reading those on people. But with that mask on, I can't do that. All I can do is rely on the eyes. And the eyes don't always give stuff away because some people just have dead souls. That's what I tell them. But yes. And Nikki's even responding with that. Yes, it's a huge tell on me because she definitely talks with facial expressions.
Me too.
And that's what, Jamie, I think we're working on bridging some of that. We're being forced to be more transparent and empathetic. Correct. I agree that too, but the masks are putting a big crunch on that. And I'm worried that because the new COVID strain is coming around and gathering and picking up steam along with the monkeypox that at some point the government's going to try to lock us down again, which I don't think is going to go well for them. But I'm worried that that's going to happen because I work for the government and they just locked us back down again. So,
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it actually just happened this week. We were identified as being back in the high for COVID on Friday when it came out from the CDC for Sarpy County. And so Monday, which was today, they told us we all had to be back in masks when we showed up to work today.
Wow.
So, yep. So we're going to lose a lot of that. But that's, again, one of my squirrel moments. Sorry, I went sideways. Welcome to my show. Not surprised by this out there. They're like, there goes Tom again. Reeling back in. Hold on, we'll get to him. So, but yes, I'm sorry, I'm walking over your time. She says we don't think we're counting anymore. Thanks. So, again, my audience, they know me way too well. So I'm leaving it to you. I've asked a bunch of questions. The audience has kind of chimed in. I wish my audience would ask a few more questions because I know they're curious. For some reason, my audience sometimes gets very involved into your talking, and they really start to soak it in, and they forget to use their fingers because they're only using their ears, which is perfectly fine. But they're just like, wow, she's so intriguing and she's so enthralling, and I love these cool stories. But then they go, and then normally when we're done, they go, oh, I had a question. Well, great.
Ask the questions, please.
Right. When we hang up, when we go away, you have to go to her directly, and I don't get to share in this question. And I want to know about your questions. So here, Nikki's going to this one. Let's go to this question again. So when you get these downloads, do you have physical effects like a headache, chest pains, etc.? Or did you know you were getting downloads because of your psychic abilities?
Great question. No, I really don't have physical effects from it. The download just happens. And, I one time in particular, I was taking my morning walk and it was like, boom, this showed up in my head. And I remember taking my walk going, wow, I feel like I haven't had contact in quite a while. This is pretty cool. And then boom, the download happened that it's been regular contact and it was as frequent as the night before. So it emotionally, it kind of throws me for a loop because it really brought me to my knees and I had to crawl over to a bench and sit there and just cry and try to absorb this. But as far as physically, I don't have any kind of a sensation there with that. But I do know, on Earth, we're on a 3D planet. We're at third density, which is, everything you touch, see, and feel. And as a planet, we're getting ready to evolve into fourth density.
Fourth density, yep.
Yeah. And I know when I have upgrades like that, I will get very dizzy sometimes and I will get headaches. And I'll just talk to my guides if it gets to be too much. I'm like, hey, back off a little bit here.
Right.
Thank you for the upgrade, but you need to back off. But, the downloads, when I say it's like somebody downloading a book, it doesn't feel heavy like somebody just smashed me with the book.
Right.
But yeah, so no physical sensations, but very strong emotional.
And she's asking, thank you for writing that in. She's asking because she doesn't have open psychic abilities, but she has a lot of fuzzy headaches and ear ringing. She has been told she has psychic abilities, and she has been told this, but she doesn't really. None of them are really showing. Like she just doesn't. She hasn't developed them, but she's been told she has them. But she does get a lot of the fuzzy headaches. And not just from alcohol, and the ear ringing too. So, and I know this because since it's my wife, she'll be like, do you hear that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you don't hear that ringing? And I'm like, no, that's just in your head. I will get ringing in my ears, but we're not at the same time. And I know what mine is from for the most part. I think mine is actually, 99% of the time I know what mine are from. I think mine are my guides talking to me or giving me information, and I'm just, again, lazy. So I'm just like, yep, cool, got it. We'll discuss again later. I'm eating a burger right now. Leave me alone. So, yes. And yeah, Nikki, Jamie's saying yes, literally in your head. Yes.
So yes, Nicole, you are psychic, but it's like I always say when you start any new job, the first thing you have two questions when you start your first day, and it's like, where's the break room and where's the restroom? So when you start with psychic abilities, it's exactly the same thing. You really don't know much, but you have to, intent is everything. So you talk to your guides and say, hey, I'm ready for some information. And then you have to practice. You have to show up every day. And just in good ways to practice, I always say, get a deck of cards, spread them out on the table, and just touch one and start out with, is it a black card? Is it a red card? And when you feel comfortable with that, is it a face card or is it a number card? And then just keep developing and developing. You're never going to be 100%.
Right.
And there isn't a psychic in the planet that's 100% right either, because there's so much free will that happens. But that's good ways to practice, and then sit with your friends. Or, get a deck of tarot cards and start practicing with that. It's like showing up for work, showing up for your job every single day. You can't just sit and wait for it to happen. You have to show up to work. But yeah, I'm getting very strongly that you do have psychic abilities. And it's what they're showing me right now is like a double doors, and one door is just cracked, ready to open. And they're waiting for you to give it permission to open, for your guides for you to swing that open so that they've got good contact with you. But they're telling me that there's a little bit of fear associated with that. And I'm telling you, there's nothing to be afraid of. You just, every morning, part of my meditation is I encircle myself in the white and golden light of God's love and divine protection. And I don't allow any spirit, any entity near me that isn't at least 6 density. So you set those parameters too, Nikki, and nobody's allowed input into your life unless they are at least 6 density. And then there is nothing to fear whatsoever. Yeah. So that brings me to a point when people talk about, a question I get a lot is, are Ouija boards evil? And it's like, no, it's a piece of cardboard and a plastic planchette. It's whoever's operating it. And they will operate it with, okay, let's have any kind of spirit come in. Let's just see. Well, any low vibing spirit is going to come in. And be a prankster, and you want to set the tone. Yeah, that only high vibrating 6 density spirits are allowed to have any kind of input. Then it's a great tool. It's fun. It's great.
Yes. Yeah.
But,
and
protect yourself.
So Nikki tells you that she would practice with me, but my mind is like a steel trap. And I tell her my mind is not like a steel trap. My mind is empty. So there's really nothing to practice there with. So, so there's a difference. And Jamie is letting me know that Joe is listening in on another realm. So Joe, I know you're listening, brother. Hello. That's the one I told you that would be listening in from Hawaii. So Joe,
hi, Joe.
Glad you're listening in. And it's 3:15 p.m. your time. So happy afternoon. So cool. But yes, so thank you. And she actually said thank you for the practice tips. That's the first time I've actually ever heard the deck of cards thing as well. And I am so screwed because, like I told you, I don't practice. So I'm just, man, I am done for. I should look into a new profession. Maybe I should go be a sports announcer or something, because I don't think this this live stream stuff's going to cut it for me because I'm too lazy.
But then you'd have to show up to games.
Well, see, I'm okay with baseball players and football players because I can do the names and the numbers. I can remember that stuff. But and that just comes naturally to me. I'm just too lazy to practice. The only good thing I have going for me is that once I read something or once I experience something, I don't forget it. I have one of those stupid minds that just doesn't forget things for the most part. If I read it, that's how I went through all of high school and college. I read it, I memorized it, I took the test. It was fine. And so it was very nice. But I don't know why. I'm telling you now, right on air, I have no good reason at all why I am so lazy. There's no justification for it outside of I just don't do it. So
you're honest about it.
I'm too dumb to know any better. How's that? And then there's Jamie says, so we don't all have to practice because awesome like that. Yeah, right. Yeah. And she said it's called knowing, duh. So Donna is chiming in and saying you are amazing.
Hi, Donna. Aw, thank you for coming on tonight. Ah, that's very
And
sweet.
Jolene is jumping in to say hello, everyone. So
Hello,
hi.
Jolene.
But again, this is kind of your show. I'm just the bearded one. So if you have anything else you want to talk about, you are more than welcome to.
I
We,
guess
we
the only other thing I really want to say is that when I'm in session with someone, they ask, is this confidential? And I said, I have no choice because I channel when I do sessions. So my guides come through, your guides come through. So it's like in my head, out my mouth, and gone. So
right.
someone can tell me anything incredibly personal. And the minute they walk out the door, I have no recollection. So they'll come back for another session. Remember what you said? Yeah, no,
No,
I don't.
no, and I don't record them.
Yeah,
So,
the opposite of your brain.
right. Yeah. That is outstanding. Well, I'm going to leave it up to the audience one more time. We are at about an hour and 20 minutes. It feels like it's been about 15 minutes. Look, I look at my fake watch like I always do. Um, and Nikki said that's not a bad thing. Just to forget. But we're an hour 20 minutes. I want to definitely throw this back up there again, folks, especially because I know we have new people that are coming in. And I will read this out because I know there's some people, Joe, that aren't able to watch, but they are listening. So Kristi Pederson, it's PEDERSON.com. And then there's another site called herextraordinarylife.net. If you go out there, you can find out tons of information about Kristi, about her books, about her experiences, about the classes she teaches, how to contact her for sessions, anything else that you want to know about her. And you just have a random question because you watched the show and you're like, cool, I want to know more. Send it out there. Go out there to that site, contact her. She'll be more than happy to answer you. And I have complete faith that she will reach back out to you. She's not going to make me look bad. So she will reach out to you and respond. So don't be shy. Do you know where you're at next as far as like the Mystic Fest or something along those lines?
I'm going to be at the Sioux Falls, South Dakota Expo on October 8th.
Okay.
And I will be doing readings then. I really have stopped doing readings at expos now, but I will be doing some readings there because I also have the opportunity to be one of the speakers. So I'll be speaking and doing readings at Sioux Falls, South Dakota Expo, October 8th.
Okay. And we have another Mystic Fest coming up locally, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's October, the first weekend in October.
I believe so too. Yeah, I believe that's what Astara mentioned. It was either Astara or Annie. You remember, I've had all three of you on in a row, so so it was outstanding because every single one of you, you're all friends and you all have, but you all talk about different things, which is amazing. And you all have your own different gifts and abilities and talents to bring to everyone who's willing to watch this and listen and take it in and then research more. Now, see, I always say I'm lazy, but I always do the research on y'all. So, because it's because I like to know you guys on one certain level before you come on. And the audience doesn't know this. Well, some of them might, but I never ask my guests like Kristi or anybody else questions ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And the reason I don't is because I want to be just as inspired, surprised, enthralled, anything else you want to throw in there, as the audience is when you give an answer or when you talk about things. So my reactions are not canned, they're not planned because you and I have talked about questions. And that's how I like to experience things. And because it's very cool, it's very genuine when you guys give answers. And that's what leads my audience and me to know where to go down the rabbit hole next, because I don't know what to go with. I'm just along for the ride like all the audience is, and I'm just hoping that the slide ends on a pillow and not in a bunch of thorn bushes. But yeah, so I want to thank you for being on. Thank you very much. Thank you. Show your 3 books again, please.
Yeah, and if you could spell my first name too, because my name is 800 ways to spell it. So
yes,
for those
who are listening, so I'm just going to spell the whole name. It's Kristi Pederson, Kristi Pederson. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, because Kristi can be spelled 9,000 different ways. I think you can even spell it with a Z if I came up creatively enough. But yes, Kristi for Kristi.
Yes.
Perfect. And
Yes.
please advertise your books one more time.
The first book is An Extraordinary Life. Second book is We Are Not Alone, My Extraterrestrial Contact. And the third one is Between Earth and Heaven, A Beginner's Guide to Living a Spiritual Life.
And for my show, I mean, I want people to have all three of them. But that last one you showed is really going to be the one that ties into my topic of stuff I never learned from a school book. It's for people who are just learning, who are just figuring things out, who want to know more, who are unsure of maybe what the words you use is perfect. What modalities interest them? You said you listed out 24 different modalities in the book, and people will read them and some will resonate with them and some won't. See, I actually remember some of them. I actually listen when you guys talk. But yes, so some of them will resonate with others. Well, some others will be like, nope, that's not me. That's not an interest to me, but these are. So this is probably where I'm going to be heading down the road, because these are the ones that I'm really strongly attached to. So that last book you had on there, if you're just figuring it out, you're right now you're doing the color by the numbers type of thing like I am. That book right there, Between Earth and Heaven, is the one that you're going to want to grab and start reading. Are all three of them on audiobook?
No, just the ET book is the only one that's audio.
Okay. So the other ones you got to read. Sorry, people, learn how to read. Reading is fundamental. Remember those commercials. But yes, so that's my plug. That's because I'm married to a teacher. So all the educational stuff as well. As Zhang is saying, I love the topics. What was discussed was so broad. So for us, you don't understand what it actually really happened. ET starts the discussion that they really exist. Yes. Jamie's saying, thank you very much. You are fabulous. And I have to 100% agree with this.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on, Kristi. I can't wait to pick up your books, and I can't wait to see your movie. Yes, you have a movie coming out that's going to be coming out this fall that two of our friends actually helped create and put into production and everything else. So those who don't know, Astara and Orion are the ones who helped her get this movie out. So it is fantastic. There's a trailer out there that you can already go watch. Go watch the trailer in anticipation of the movie, and then just wait for the movie to come out, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yes, and the movie's called We Are Not Alone. And the trailer, you can get the link on my website. So you can watch that. And then you can also sign up for my newsletter on the website too. And or like me on Facebook, follow me, whatever, because I'll be announcing when the film is released all over the place. So you can keep up to date on everything.
Perfect. So Annie Grace, of course, is saying thank you to you. You're welcome. Thank you very much. I'm glad you all enjoyed the show. Donna's saying this is so exciting. And Annie is backing up saying the movie is going to be so great. I wholeheartedly agree. I believe that anything that any of you put together, that I think it's just going to come out phenomenal. And I can't wait to actually see the entire movie, not just the trailer. And I will be in contact with you again. Please don't leave the backstage, but I'm going to send you backstage because I want to talk to you afterwards for a little bit, if you're okay with that. But again,
thank you everybody for listening.
I very much appreciate you being on my show and dealing with my antics and my squirrel moments, and just dealing with me and whole, just as I do my audience. But I will be right with you shortly. Let me say goodnight to the audience, and I will be back with you.
Sounds good. Good night.
All right, folks, that's the show tonight. Hold on 1 second. Don't go anywhere, because I want to make sure I take a look really quick, because for those who don't know, I just moved into a new place. So I've been kind of squirrel momented all over the place, which is why you see the new background. I'm starting to hang up my Superman stuff. But next week, I actually have on Carrie Kennedy, and she is going to be coming on. We'll probably talk psychic medium type stuff, investigation type stuff, whatever we want to talk about, like we normally do. You know how the show works. Whatever we talk about, I don't care what the guest wants to talk about. It's their free reign. They can talk about whatever they want. Kind of how it's built. But I appreciate you all being here, as you always are. I love you all very much. I appreciate the support you give. Feel free to like and share this out with others so they get to experience all this wonderful information and the wonderful audience that all of you are. Thank you for being here. We will be here again next Monday, 7 p.m. Central. And remember, just go out to Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook really quick. For those of you who are new or just don't remember, here's all my information. Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook.com. That's on Facebook, facebook.com/Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. Twitch TV.Stuff I Never Learned. YouTube, it has all these wonderful letters and numbers, but if you just actually type in Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook, you will actually find me on YouTube. So go ahead and take a look out there. Like, share, enjoy, all that wonderful stuff. Hopefully, remember, if you guys have to watch a recording of this and you can't be with me live, I actually have an email on my Facebook page that you can email me questions to, and I will actually ask the questions live to the audience as we go. So that way you can be a part of it too if you're unable to watch live. Other than that, have a great night. Much love to everybody. And I will see you next Monday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 Hawaiian. We'll go through all that again next week. Anyways, much love, folks. We'll see you later.